This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of professional practice. 1 week down, 3 to go, and then you're graduates. Yay. It's the end is so close, so we just have to get through this week, which is one of the busier weeks, because your research paper that opened last week is due this Sunday. You have a discussion board due with an initial post on Wednesday, a reply post on Friday, and a reflection post on Sunday. And you also have to start working on your experience map this week. So we'll go over the assignments in a little bit more detail in a minute. But first, I want to talk a little bit about ethics and kind of give you a definition. I always like to define words. I think the understanding a term can help you understand the concept more. So anytime you stumble over something, I'm always looking up words. Every time I see one, I don't look. So the definition of ethics is simply the rules of conduct recognized in respect to a particular class of human actions or a particular group. In this case, it's in regards to being a media designer. So what are the ethics that you hold near and dear to your heart as a media designer? So for graphic designers, what they what we need to most pay attention to are things like copyright law, privacy, plagiarism, fair use, and photo manipulation. Just because you found it on the internet doesn't mean it's free. There's all sorts of ways to look for inspiration out there, but you always want to make sure you're doing it the right way because you have integrity. And integrity goes hand in hand with our personal ethics. It's that quality of being honest and having those strong principles. So I like to always look at my thesaurus, and integrity also is linked to virtue, principles, truthfulness, decency, and fairness. So you want to think about that. When you have integrity and you have these strong sense of ethics, you're not going to take jobs that you know are going to harm current clients or that go against your own personal ethics. So there's something called right conduct, and you'll get into more of this with the reading this week for the discussion board and the paper. So right conduct is governed by law in most cases, and it's knowing that in graphic design, plagiarism, it doesn't just mean, grabbing some words and putting them in a paper. It means, taking unauthorized use of existing artwork and how you're representing it as your own. I love Peter Max, but I can't take his poster and put it in a graphic design of my own and call it my own, because that's appropriation. So that's the direct taking over of a work of art or a real object or an existing art. So it raises those questions about authorship, authenticity, and originality. So, appropriating work off the internet is not what you should do, because we're all paying attention to copyright right now. So this is the time where we actually look for the R in the circle, not the W that we did in month 4. You'd be surprised how many students confuse that early on in the degree program. But you want to think about copyright and how you can copyright your own work and how other people's work is also held to copyright. So you want to think about how it protects the artwork, including your photographs. There was a big story on NPR last week about photography and copyright and how Europe is changing the rules over there about how YouTube and other internet providers and sources protect the work of others. And so you want to make sure you're protecting your own work. So it's got to, the moment you create it in that fixed form of expression is when the copyright sinks in. So the copyright is your exclusive right to control the reproduction or commercial exploitation of that. Interesting story. I was at a music festival this weekend, and there is a guy running around selling T-shirts, and so people are buying these T-shirts and not thinking anything of it. And then something popped up in the Facebook group for this festival, and someone said that he showed the artwork on this pirated T-shirt was actually his artwork from a festival he did in 2006, and he showed the original artwork that he did and how this guy kind of stole the artwork and put it on for this festival, and these were all copyright infringements that we were all participating in because we were all buying the cheap T-shirts. So understanding how copyright and how to protect your work is really super important. So what if it's not work made for hire and I did that again. And you're creating something for your client, so it depends on, you know, what's in the terms of your contract. So if you're doing some layout, or maybe you're doing some editing, video editing, your client is paying the rights to use your work under your copyright. So understanding that is important. Identifying the scope of these rights can be an important part of your contract with the client. So when in doubt, spell it out. Always make sure everything is clear and concise in your contract, so that if something happens, you have the contract there to fall back on. And you own your copyright unless you write it, you assign it to someone else by writing the ownership towards someone else. So you want to make sure that you always have everything in your T's crossed and your I's dotted, as I like to say. So work for hire is when a person who creates the work is considered the author and the automatic owner of the copyright under copyright law. But there's some exceptions. So if you're an employee and your employer is considered the author, the automatic copyright is with your employment. So when I worked as the in-house creative director for the PBS affiliate, not only was I not the copyright holder of anything I did there, PBS actually told us how things had to look. So we were held up to our own standards within the PBS brand. And then we didn't own any of the work that we did. You know, it was all part of, they had the copyright to that. So if you're working as an independent contractor, it's different. Again, make sure it's in your contract exactly who owns what and how it can be used and when it can be used, because that's just always an important thing. Because if you don't have it written down, and someone like this guy at the festival who was talking about his artwork being stolen and co-opted, that's copyright infringement. And that's when somebody commercially exploits your work and claims it as their own and makes money off of your work. And with the internet today, that's so easy. I can just see how that t-shirt happened, how the guy went out and looked at festival art and thought about, okay, this is called the Swanee Rising Music Festival. So he wanted something, I guess, rising up, and this butterfly image came up, and he's like, oh, that's cool, I'll use that, without doing the research, without asking the artist for permission. So that's copyright infringement. And I'm hoping that the original artist follows through and finds out exactly what happened and how he can make sure he's paid for his work. So problems arise when one artist uses another artist's work, and that can always be problematic. So always get it in writing. If you're using someone's work and they give you permission, just saying yes over the phone or in an email isn't, I always say make sure it's part of the contract. So having an official document will always help you, because I've been in court cases where we've had to testify to what's going on with a certain client and them not paying bills and having to prove who did what. And it can be really tricky, especially under cross-examination. So who's liable for infringement on a copyright? Well, that's any person who's making money off that unauthorized use of a copyrighted work. So from the initial copying it right off the internet through distribution by running around with a bag of t-shirts in a festival, that person is liable for copyright infringement. Okay, let's talk about week 2 assignments. Any questions about any of that? I can open up.
Yeah, before we get too much further away from copyrights, I came in late to the game. This is Rick Isbell.
Hi, Rick.
And hi.
Hi.
You were saying the copyright is yours.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally hit the wrong button. Go ahead, say that again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
You said we originated, it's from its origination.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about paperwork. Do we have to put in for that copyright right away, or is it automatically ours if we put the little C in the circle? And
I think it's the moment you create it. So where was that one? So the moment you create that work, it's yours. So I always say you can't remember every single thing you work on, so have good record keeping. When it was really early in my career when I had to testify in court about a client not paying bills and he was denying that we did anything. Well, we didn't have a computer back then. We were doing everything with like paste up and stuff. So suddenly some of our flat files had disappeared. So any record of ours about the actual work we were doing had suddenly disappeared out of the art department. So I always say keeping, digital records along with physical records is the way to go. Dating it, showing your process somewhere, keeping track of everything is just the way to go, because it is your copyright. But seeing this happen firsthand this weekend was really shocking, and to see how quickly someone took action with their work being used improperly and using social media to get the word out, I thought was really impressive. That answer your question?
In the old days, I'm an older guy, so like you, I've done some pay stuff. But what I used to do is I would send a copy of it through the mail to myself.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, the poor man's copyright is what we used to call it. And
yeah,
I would have that stamp on there.
Yep. And it's got a date on it because of the postage cancellation. Yep.
Right.
Like I said, however you feel comfortable keeping records is probably the best way to go.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Let's go to our assignments. Okay, with this week, the research paper, we started talking about it last week, and it's based on some research that you do in the textbook, and you have to use the Wally Snyder article that is attached to the assignment. So I'm going to pull that up. Can everybody see that? Yes. Okay. So you're just covering these bullet points here in the middle of the screen. You want to make sure that you're reading with intention, and hopefully most of you started the reading at least last week, because you're writing 1,500 to 2,000 words. You're using this article that's down here called Making the Case for Enhanced Advertising Ethics by Wally Snyder. So download the PDF by right-clicking it. Make sure your media ethics books is downloaded into your VitalSource bookshelf. If you don't have that, then contact FSO support immediately, because we're going to be referencing the book a couple more times this month. So you want to make sure you're referencing the reading and making those connections between the Snyder article about making that case for enhanced advertising ethics. He's talking about how it's the designer's responsibility and the people who are creating the advertising to, include deeper understanding of what these ethics should be. So we want to make sure that that's all being taken care of. So read that article, then go find the cases in the media ethics, and you're going to connect the article by doing that cross-comparison analysis between the article and one of the cases that you find in the book, and then go in and find a second case that talks about questionable use of social media in marketing and communications, and explain why it's questionable, and then do some outside research to back it up, and just prove your case. Remember, you're constructing an argument, and the best way to support your argument is through secondary sources that really are the backbone of your paper that help support your argument. It's an APA paper, so you know by now, hopefully, how to do that. If not, go grab the template out of the Microsoft Word templates. There's an actual APA one there, and just use that to help you put your paper together. So this paper, 1,500 to 2,000 words, not including the title page, the abstract, or the references, is due on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Okay. So now let me go back to...
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I just have 3 questions regarding the essay.
Okay.
Okay,
Go back to that.
I'll start with my first question. They're all pretty much questions that I just want to make sure, like, what's okay with you, because some professors like different things. So I use twice in the paper, in one of my paragraphs, I'm talking about a media designer, and then another one I'm talking about the consumer. And I say the word there. Is that okay or no?
There, as in THI. What's the sentence?
Like I'm saying, as I said, consumers already have it set in their minds that advertising.
Yeah.
Yada yada. Okay. And then for the other one, I say, with this power in consumers' hands, media designers need to take the action to make sure moral reasoning is at the forefront of their minds. Yep. Okay.
Because it's the collective group that you're talking about.
Okay. And then the second one is, so I was researching what an expository essay is, and they say it's 5 paragraphs, but the body paragraphs, if you feel, do you want us to break up like the paragraphs if we feel like, okay, this is like getting really long, I can break this up into 2?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so should I indent or not, since it's not like
Yes.
a new topic?
Yeah. What you
So
want to
still-
do is just make your paragraphs fully formed. So you introduce the topic in your paragraph and just keep that paragraph going until you're going to do that transition statement to the next paragraph. You're not just breaking things up for the sake of breaking things up. You make a new paragraph when the idea is shifting to the next idea. So don't worry about an expository essay being 5 paragraphs. I want you to just focus on answering these questions thoroughly and concisely and making sure that your ideas flow. So what you're doing is you're exposing the argument. That's really what an expository essay is you're constructing this argument about this case for enhanced media ethics and how you're using examples from the case studies to back up the claim. You could completely tell Wally Snyder that he's completely wrong as long as you make a strong case for it and back up your argument with evidence. It's just easier to do it if you take his article and find case studies that appear. Okay. But
Okay.
in terms of writing, if you want some resources for academic writing, I will gladly send them to you.
Okay. And then my other one is about actual, like the references.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just pull it up real quick because I want to make sure I read this right. Okay, so for the vital source one,
Mm-hmm.
should it say retrieved from vital source bookshelf? Like, should that be the last? Because like there's no like link.
Yeah, you can use that.
Okay, so
I'm not hammering you guys over APA style like nitty gritty because this is your last class. So I want you to be more aware of the essence of the paper and what the argument is. And, you know, if there's issues with APA, I'll point them out and you can fix it if you want, and I can help you with that. But
okay, and for the DOI one, I know some sources say like just leave it after DOI, and then some say you should say still where it's retrieved from. So should I say just leave it at DOI, or do you want us to say where it's
just leave it at DOI. You don't want your references to be too over cluttered. So if the DOI is there, then anybody reading your paper can take that DOI and find the source that you used. Okay. Remember, that's all a reference page is that in-text citation is leading the reader to your reference page so that if they want to read the entire scholarly article that you're quoting, they can go find it easily.
Okay. Is DOI capital or not?
You know, I've been doing so much MLA with my PhD right now.
Some sources say capital, because my last class I did it capital with the 2 little dots, and my teacher said that was fine.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I haven't looked at this in a while with the DOI, so let's go. OWL.
Because mostly, like every time I found them, they didn't have DOI, so I never had to do it. So it's like very few had DOI. So I'm like, I'm never sure how to do it.
Yeah, and when you're sometimes with DOIs, it depends on what the paper is for. Like in a PhD program, they're expecting me to have DOI if I'm doing APA. All right, let's see. DOI, electronic sources. Okay. No date. Where's the DOI here? We had a really great resource and it just went away. There we go. DOI.
It did. I noticed that it went away.
Yeah, it didn't move over. See, there's DOI here. DOI.
Oh, okay.
It's all lowercase here.
Lowercase with the 2 dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because ours kind of got temporarily erased, we're not sure what happened to it. It's not on Full Sail 1 yet. It's still around. We just can't get it on Full Sail 1 yet. So use this OWL APA site. This is really great. So just Google OWL APA and it'll come up to this page. All right.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question was, how long should the abstract be?
Abstracts are usually up to 250 words. So as long as, think about what an abstract is. It is in the summary of the entire paper. So if you can say that in 250 words or less, that's really all but it shouldn't be 2 sentences.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
fine. I just like,
Yeah.
because I know some teachers were like 150, some are like
Yeah.
250. So I just
Well,
want to
when
make
you
sure.
were in the copywriting class with me, everything was about word count because being concise in copywriting is, everything. So I made all my writing assignments have word count so that you're aware of the actual words. But
Okay.
here, I'm not being that.
So those are all my questions. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
You're welcome. Okay. So the other thing we have going on this week, let me see if I can get this to go back to where it was, is the discussion board. Every week you're going to do discussion boards that are the 3 parts, with the initial post on Wednesday, the reply post on Friday, and the reflection post on Sunday. So it's a very easy schedule to get used to. So, I already have my whole semester was in my planner from the day it was released. So that's how it worked. But this week we're talking about copyright issues and concerns. So what I kind of touched on a little bit, you're going to go into more depth by reading from these resources that we have here. This AIGA book called Design, Business, and Ethics by AIGA is a really good resource. That should pop open easily. And I suggest you download it and keep it handy because it's got everything you need in here about design, business, and ethics. So you're using that as your primary source. You can also access Creative Truth by Brad Weaver and use some of his information. And then the library has moved to Full Sail One. So I know someone was having some issues with getting connected to the library. So you have to actually log into Full Sail One and you go under departments and then you search for library. That's how I found it. So I kind of put that link up there if you want to copy and paste it. But really what you're focusing on is, again, exactly what we're asking. So just, look at these questions, read with intention, thoroughly answer them, because you're talking about legal problems that could possibly trip you up in the future. So learning about these copyright issues can help protect your work in the future. So you want to make sure you understand how to protect your work, how you're not stepping on other people's copyright by using their work, how to go about getting permission and stuff, and what are some of the copyright issues that are faced when answering an RFP. Sometimes we're all desperate to get more work, so we're grabbing RFPs left and right, and we answer one. And what if the person putting out the RFP is asking to see some work before they actually hire you, and they want to see specifics on the job that they're asking for? I always find that a little scary and sketchy. So you're going to read about all this copyright concerns in your discussion board post, then come back and respond to one classmate by Friday. And then in your reflection post, you're going to talk about what stood out the most to you from this research that you did into issues with copyright and what's going to help you as you move forward. Okay, so that's due Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Okay, let's talk about the experience map. So an experience map is usually used when launching a new product. They want to understand the product developers. It's all about selling their products. So they need to understand their target audience and the user experience and all that good stuff. Well, what we're doing is we're using the idea of the experience map, and instead of doing it on a product, you're doing it on yourself and how your journey was. And it's a really fun assignment because you're creating this this visual story about the 12 months that you spent here at Full Sail working on your media design MFA. So the Adaptive Path Guide to Experience Mapping is a little PDF that you can download that's got all the information about how to use it as a product. So we're using this as just a reference so that you can understand what an experience map entails. So it really has 4 steps, and you're thinking about how these 4 things kind of tell the story of a brand or the story of a product, or in this case, your story, by uncovering the truth, charting the course, looking at your actual journey, telling the story of your journey, and then using your map to help you come up with new ideas, or maybe it'll lead you in a new direction. So what you want to do when you're using an experience map is you want to tell a true story. So talk about your real experiences. Remember, this is done in terms of thinking, feeling, and doing. I talked a little bit about that last week. So you want to make sure that your story is true. So when you think about what you're doing, when you're working, say, on a product, you're going to be doing all this research, qualitative, mixed method, quantitative, putting everything together, understanding what the doing, feeling, and thinking has to do and how it interacts with all these different places where the consumer would come in contact with your product. But what you're doing is you're basically mapping your journey along the lines of this. This is the example that's in the book. So I don't want to see any black and yellow maps in week 3. You're going to really find your own voice in this map and create a theme that's based on who you are. But for right now, this is what we're showing you in the book so that you understand the structure of it. So you're going to have this like up and down, because I don't think I've had one student say it was a smooth sailing event from month 1 through month 12. Everybody has peaks and valleys. There's certain assignments within classes that you loved, some that you hated. Talk about them, talk about what you learned, because you're examining your 3 semesters in terms of what you were doing in each class, what you were thinking as you were starting each class and what you went through, and then what you were feeling as you went through those classes. So if you had an issue like you hate writing and you were really scared about the effective copywriting class and you hated it and it was stupid, don't be afraid to say that. I won't take it personally. But I know a lot of students come into a course, doesn't matter if it's the writing class or the class that had the After Effects in it, there's always trepidation because we're so used to being in our comfort zone. So use this map to explore those areas where you got pushed out of your comfort zone and be expressive. So really all you're doing this week is this quickie sketch. So you're thinking about your ideas. What was your high point, your low point? Do these little call outs, make notes, and do sticky notes. Now this is an actual physical whiteboard with physical sticky notes on it, but if you want, there is a sticky notes app in your Mac, so go under applications and you can use the digital version, or if you're like me, I like actually moving things around. I actually like using the real sticky notes and the color coding. So what you're doing is you're examining every single class, all 12 of them, and you're talking about what you were doing in each class, what you were thinking about as you were going through the class, and what you were feeling about the class. So start with mastery, go through all the way through copywriting for your first semester, go through the second semester, months 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then their third semester is multi-platform delivery through professional practice. Okay, so let's look at a couple. Okay, this was a kind of boring one because it doesn't really have any personality, but what I wanted to show about this one was how succinct it was in terms of the journey. It had high points, it had low points. It's missing the call outs, so you want to make sure when you're have your high points and your low points that there's a little call out as to what was these high points and what were these low points. But you can see here every class is covered under a really organized way. But what we want you to do, you can do this as your first initial draft because you're turning in your quickie sketch, your sticky notes, and the initial draft. So this could be an initial draft. It just has everything that needs to be in there. Plus, if you send me a thorough initial draft, I will look at it, make sure everything's spelled correctly, because sometimes when you're looking at it, you just don't see your own typos. And unless you know where the spell checker is in InDesign or Illustrator, it's not going to automatically check your spelling. Okay, so this is your initial draft. What we're going to task you with in week 3 is you're going to assign a theme. Figure out what it is that you love. So here's a motocross theme that a student did, and she's talking about starting off on this even keel and then suddenly took a dive at the end of month 4, and there was something going on, so she talked about what it was. So the call outs are here right next to the motorcycle, so you can see how the journey had its ups and downs, but that she ended up graduating and everything worked out well. This is a treasure map. That's kind of an interesting way to go because you learned something. You got clues every single month that led you on this journey and led you to the final. I've had all kinds of themes come to light. Here's one that's got like an interstellar feel to it with the planets. And again, the trace of the maps, the ups and down is actually through these planets. You can see the ups and downs and the call outs that are popped up. The thinking, feeling, and doing. This one I really like because it's different. First of all, it's a little vertical. Each of the semesters is grayed back here, so you can see that each of the classes, and then you can see the ups and downs of this person's journey. And what I thought was interesting was this spiral almost looks like their fingerprint. So it almost looks like this was their journey and this was what happened. And instead of being like really square with everything boxed out, they instead wrote it in a paragraph form that talked about what they were thinking, feeling, and doing in each of the classes. Okay. This is another vertical one that uses a kayak. So if you're into some sort of sports, I've had people that are motorcycle riders. I've had people that are musicians, some that are into books. They've used books as their way to guide their map. This one's a kayak and the ups and downs, again, with the call outs and with the thinking, feeling, and doing. So this is a fun assignment. So get in there and think about what your journey was like and use this experience map to help you, realize that you've accomplished this. There was a lot that you guys accomplished through these 12 months, and you should be really proud because nobody except Full Sail people get their master's in 12 months. What you did is incredible. I did the creative writing MFA, so I remember how insane it was going every single, 4 weeks. A new course started. You had no breather in between. And what did I learn in this class and that class? So you can find a lot of things that is going to probably get revealed to you as you start exploring. And if you don't know where to start, go back to your month 1 class with your timeline and go look at your PowerPoint presentation that you did as your week 4 assignment at Mastery. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, there's none in the chat window. Okay. So your discussion board is Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. The Mastery research paper is due on Sunday. And then the sketch, the initial draft, and the sticky notes is due Sunday. And then in week 3, we're going to revise the experience map and put that theme to it. But if you have a theme that you want to work on now, that's fine as well. Okay? Any questions?
I'm good.
Okay. I just thought maybe I lost you guys there for a second. Okay. Well, as you start working on things, like if you're struggling with something with the research paper, reach out to me. I can help you if you need some extra resources, if you're struggling with what case study you want to look at in the book, how to make the connections. If you have APA issues, I'll remind you how to use OWL, since our really cool one. I think one of my colleagues made a PDF of all the screenshots of the color-coded APA guide, so I'm going to get that from him tomorrow, and I'll actually post that in the announcement so that everybody can access it, okay? But as you start working, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or each other through the community discussion board, okay? All righty. I'm going to turn
Real quick, can you repeat what you said about the color-coded?
Oh, the color-coded APA guide that we were using on the Connect page that disappeared when we made the transition to Full Sail 1. Someone was tracking down screenshots of it and was going to make a PDF of it tonight. So as soon as I get the PDF of the color-coded guide to APA, I will post that in the announcements tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. I'm going to put PDF post tomorrow. Okay.
Outstanding.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. You guys have a really good night. It was nice talking to you guys. And if you have any questions, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out.
Professor?
Yeah.
I'm still having issues trying to access that link. I can get, every time I go to the library page on the news site, the one I've logged in, all I get is, here's what the library is all about, but not access to finding any books within the library.
All right. Well, why don't we go try to do that right now? Let me see what I can find.
Because I copy that link.
That's what I'm going to
Put
do.
it in the browser. And for
That's
me,
what
it shows up as our library hours are this, that, and the other thing.
Okay, library.
So I get that page.
Mm-hmm.
I get there. I clicked on that tab on the left
Where
that
is it?
says study,
Mm-hmm.
and that's as far as I
Stories.
can get.
No, you have to go to about.
About. Down
Yeah,
at
it's
the
under
bottom.
about. Yeah,
Here's
quick
your
link.
quick link.
Okay.
So go
That's
to
where
the
it is.
about. See,
Yeah,
sometimes it
trust
takes
me,
all
I
of
was
us
at
working
the
together.
same
And
exact way
here's your
for
database.
like 2 days, and I was getting so mad, and I was just clicking
I know.
everything. I was like, finally!
I know.
Thank you,
And
because
then,
I've tried and tried it, and I'm just so stressed out right now. I
Oh, you have no idea. I was the exact same. Like it's like the Full Sail one thing. I was like, this sucks. I'm so angry. Where's my links?
I know, and it's such a different environment getting used to it, especially in your last class. Yeah. I'm
It was like,
glad
yeah, because then I was like looking for all the cool links for like APA, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just angry.
yeah.
I
All
have
right.
screenshots of that color-coded stuff as well.
Okay, good. Well, feel free to share. I think Ryan was putting one together for us, Ryan McClung, since he did the original website. So hopefully we can get that out to everybody tomorrow. But all your links for Safari Books Online is here and your databases. So
Okay,
now that we all
thank
know
you.
it's under the About section.
That just
Yeesh.
doesn't make sense to me. About is, this is what the page is about, not,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
makes,
I didn't like because I was like I was having like such struggles trying to find all the graduation stuff. It
Yep.
was a
yeah, I
complete
had
mess.
to do all that too.
I was like, I'm not graduating.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad everybody's helping each other with this because that's sometimes just trying to find stuff, like you said, can be so frustrating. So sometimes it just is a bunch of our putting our heads together and figuring it out. So thank you for this because this helped me as well because I was struggling trying to find the date for the next graduation. So I just went in and followed all the pages that I need to follow so I can go at least get to them now. So again, it's just a new way of presenting things. I just have to figure out where everything is, and same for you guys, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
well, I'm going to turn off. You're welcome. Okay. Turn off the recording.